The invasion of Buna, which took place in late 1942 and early 1943, was one of the pivotal campaigns in the Pacific War. Fought on the northern coast of New Guinea, the battle was a significant step in the Allied effort to turn the tide against Japan's expansion in the Pacific. The Japanese strongholds at Buna and Gona were vital to Japan's control over the region, and their capture was essential for securing the southward route to Australia. Strategic importance of Buna. Buna and Gona were located on the northeastern coast of New Guinea and were critical to Japan's military strategy. These areas provided Japan with bases for staging further operations in the Pacific, including potential future invasions of Australia. The Allies, primarily Australian and American forces, recognized that securing these locations would cripple Japanese control in the region and secure vital supply routes to Australia. The battle begins. The battle began in November 1942, when Allied forces, including Australian troops and U.S. Army units, launched a joint offensive to capture the heavily fortified Japanese positions at Buna, Gona, and the surrounding areas. The Japanese had established well-defended positions, with entrenched artillery, machine guns, and snipers scattered throughout the dense jungle terrain. The defenders were part of the 18th Japanese Army, commanded by General Hitoshi Imamura, and they were well prepared for a prolonged defense. Allied forces initially underestimated the strength of the Japanese defenses and the difficulty of the terrain. The battle soon became a brutal and prolonged fight, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The dense jungle and torrential rains created logistical nightmares, and both sides faced supply shortages, disease, and exhaustion. The brutality of jungle warfare. The Buna campaign became infamous for its brutal and grueling jungle warfare. Soldiers fought in close-quarter combat, often within the thick vegetation where visibility was limited. The Allies faced a challenging situation, as the Japanese entrenched themselves in well-protected bunkers and reinforced positions, using the jungle's natural cover to their advantage. The Japanese defenders were also well supplied with artillery and heavy machine guns, which made it difficult for the Allies to break through their lines. One of the most significant challenges for the Allied forces was the Kokoda Track, a rugged and treacherous route through the mountains that was used to transport supplies and reinforcements. The path was plagued by mud, rain, and dense jungle, and the journey to the front lines was exhausting and perilous. Allied strategy and counterattacks. Allied forces launched several coordinated attacks over the course of the battle, but their progress was slow and costly. Australian troops bore the brunt of the fighting in the dense jungle, while U.S. Army units provided support and logistical assistance. The battle was characterized by a series of bitter assaults, as the Allies attempted to break the Japanese defensive lines. The Allies also received assistance from local Papuan infantry, who played a crucial role in assisting with reconnaissance, guiding forces through the jungle, and supporting combat operations. Their knowledge of the terrain and their courage in the face of overwhelming odds made a significant contribution to the eventual Allied victory. By early 1943, the Allies had made significant headway, despite continued resistance from the Japanese. After weeks of intense fighting and the loss of many soldiers on both sides, the Allies finally succeeded in breaking through the Japanese defenses. The last Japanese holdouts in Gona were defeated by January 1943, marking the effective end of the battle. Aftermath and significance. The capture of Buna and Gona marked a turning point in the New Guinea campaign. It significantly weakened Japan's position in the region and secured a vital base for Allied operations in the Pacific. The battle also provided valuable lessons in jungle warfare and highlighted the importance of coordination between Australian and American forces. However, the victory came at a high cost. The battle was one of the bloodiest campaigns in the Pacific War, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Estimates suggest that over 10,000 Japanese soldiers were killed, while the Allies lost nearly 2,000 soldiers. The harsh conditions, including the spread of disease and malnutrition, contributed to the staggering toll. The success at Buna laid the groundwork for the Allied counteroffensive in the South Pacific, including the eventual invasion of the Solomon Islands and the liberation of New Guinea. It also demonstrated the resolve and determination of the Allied forces to push back against Japanese expansion, even under the most challenging conditions. The battle became an important chapter in the island-hopping strategy that would ultimately lead to Japan's defeat in the Pacific War.